The way I read Genesis, Cain was marked. Therefore, I believe in white supremacy.
What the American people are looking for right now is straight answers to tough questions. And that is not what we've seen out of Senator Clinton.
Secretary Clinton, I want to start with you. Plenty of politicians evolve on issues, but even some Democrats believe you change your positions based on political expediency. You were against same-sex marriage, now you're for it. You defended President Obama's immigration policies, now you say they're too harsh. You supported his trade deal dozens of times, you even called it the gold standard. Now suddenly last week, you're against it. Will you say anything to get elected?
Capitalism made America great. Free markets, innovation, hard work. The building blocks of the American dream. But in the wrong hands, some of those dreams can turn into nightmares. Wall Street's corporate raiders made billions of dollars.
Private equity leaders getting rich at the expense of American workers.
Their greed was only matched by their willingness to do anything to make millions in profits. Nothing was spared, nothing mattered but greed. This film is about one such raider and his firm.
Let me give you 5 reasons why I'm opposed to giving the president a blank check to launch a unilateral invasion and occupation of Iraq, and why I will vote against this resolution. 1, I have not heard any estimates of how many young American men and women might die in such a war, or how many tens of thousands of women and children in Iraq might also be killed.
Land of unconfirmed.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
3rd, the United States is now involved in a very difficult war against international terrorism, as we learned tragically on September 11th. We are opposed by Osama bin Laden and religious fanatics who are prepared to engage in a kind of warfare that we have never experienced before. 4th, at a time when this country has a $6 trillion national debt and a growing deficit, we should be clear that a war and a long-term American occupation of Iraq could be extremely expensive. 5th, I am concerned about the problems of so-called unintended consequences. Who will govern Iraq when Saddam Hussein is removed? And what role will the U.S. play in an ensuing civil war that could develop in that country? Will moderate governments in the region who have large Islamic fundamentalist populations be overthrown and replaced by extremists?
Any vote that might lead to war should be hard, but I cast it with conviction.
It's very important for people going through the changes that are sweeping the region, and that Iraq has in many ways been a leader in demonstrating, to believe and to see that democracy delivers. Is your life better or not? Do your children have a better opportunity or not? And so it's time for the United States to start thinking of Iraq as a business opportunity. The greatest untapped resource in the Middle East and North Africa are its people. There's no doubt about that.
I get accused of being kind of moderate and center. I plead guilty.
I'm a progressive who likes to get things done, and I was somewhat amused today that Senator Sanders has set himself up to be the gatekeeper on who's a progressive, because under the definition that was flying around on Twitter and statements by the campaign, Barack Obama would not be a progressive, Joe Biden would not be a progressive, Jeanne Shaheen would not be a progressive.
I'll stand with President Bush on national security, the war on terrorism, and to disarm Saddam Hussein.
Even the late, great Senator Paul Wellstone would not be a progressive.
Mr. President and colleagues, I rise to address our policy in Iraq, authorizing the preemptive, go-it-alone use of force right now.
And one of the major characteristics of Paul Wellstone is that he understood that the way we succeed politically in this country is not simply by going out to the wealthy and the powerful begging for more and more campaign contributions, which is what happens so often in Congress, but he understood that the way you can win elections is by rallying ordinary people at the grassroots level. The vision that they brought forth is something that I hope that I will do my best to continue advocating for. His loss was a loss for the working people of this country, for the vast majority of the people of this country, and for the United States Senate, and I will not forget what Paul Wellstone stood for.
I do not know any progressive who has a super PAC and takes $15 million from Wall Street. That's just not progressive.
One of the things that Senator Sanders points to, and a lot of your critics point to, is you made 3 speeches for Goldman Sachs. You were paid $675,000 for 3 speeches. Was that a mistake? I mean, was that a bad error in judgment?
Look, I made speeches to lots of groups. I told them what I thought. I answered questions.
But did you have to be paid $675,000?
Well, I don't know. That's what they offered. So.
Let me ask you this. Why do you think one of these big banks paid you over $200,000 for a speech?
Well, look, I gave speeches to a wide array of groups, from healthcare groups to auto dealers and many, many more.
I mean, they're not giving me very much money now, I can tell you that much. Fine with me.